Hello, my friends. Definitely a different sort of video. This time we're doing another tier list, partially because I haven't been feeling like great health-wise recently. Also, pardon my voice today. It might sound a little different. I'm losing it. Just having a great time, aren't we all? But today I thought we would do something fun and more relaxed and do a tier list of one of my favorite things ever, medieval animals. Or really, medieval illustrations of animals. Some are great, some are kind of questionable. Some make you wonder if they've ever seen that animal before, and sometimes, most times, the answer is probably no. Now, before I get into the parameters and rules of what I'm doing with this tier list specifically, I do want to give a little background on why these illustrations look the way they do. Very briefly though, because I have talked about it before in a separate video. But first, before we get into it, let's hear a word from today's sponsor, MyHeritage. As the unofficial family historian, it's been frustrating for me to tackle the fact that a lot of my family history involves immigration or a lack of records or even oral history, and it's been very difficult to track down the minute little details or records. But using MyHeritage to uncover my family records or find sources for research for videos, it's been so helpful. MyHeritage is the #1 global service for family history and DNA testing, with tools to search over 33+ billion records, build family trees, and use tools to enhance, repair, colorize, or animate your old family photos. When I started researching on MyHeritage, I only had a few names to work off of that I had heard of, and a few of them were especially difficult because they were those weird Ellis Island name changes that no one really knew what the original was. But as I kept digging, I found loads of fascinating files, and using the Instant Discoveries feature to add entire family tree branches with just one click, it was so helpful. I found the record of which ship my grandpa and his family took to America when escaping the Holocaust, news records of my grandpa's dad and uncle's klezmer violin careers, and some really neat records of my paternal great-grandpa's service as a medic in World War II. I even was able to fix up this beautiful photo of my other great-grandpa and animate some other photos. I had absolutely no idea before just how much of this info was actually out there for me to find. And now I get to pass these stories on to my other family members, which is so beautiful and meaningful for both me and for them. Start researching your family history and building or discovering your family tree by signing up for a 14-day free trial using the link in the description below or scanning this QR code on screen and enjoying all the amazing features that MyHeritage has to offer. Thank you so much to MyHeritage for sponsoring this video, and now let's get back to ranking some weird medieval animals. So I didn't want this to just be a tier list of like generally medieval animals and like ranking them subjectively based on how cool I think they look or whatever, because then like I would just put all of them in S tier because I think all of them are fun and cool and deserve a trophy. So I needed to create some parameters for myself, being that I picked one medieval bestiary. So the bestiary that I'm using is the Bestiaire d'Amour Rimé, made in Paris in the 13th to 14th century. It was made by an anonymous author. We don't actually know who the author was or who the scribe was who may have made these illustrations. As gorgeous as they are, they deserve credit. It's based on the Bestiaire d'Amour by Richard de Fourneval. Now, the source that I'm using for all of these images and all this information that I'm getting is the Medieval Beastiary website. It is bestiary.ca. Definitely go check them out. There are so many amazing images on this website, and also other bestiaries and aviaries and books of hours and anything pertaining to medieval animals that you could possibly want, or illustrations of them, and also their symbolism is on this website. It's amazing. I will link it down below as my sole source for this video. So before we get into what images I'm using here, the reason that a lot of these drawings look this way and often fairly similar to each other is not all that different from, like, for example, why a lot of people's style harkens to, I don't know, anime styles today, or why people in certain centuries always copied the old masters or painted in any certain specific style. It's because these pieces of work were being commissioned by rich patrons, and there was a certain style that was very popular at the time. And often these styles prioritized symbolism or a grander, more subtle meaning over literalism or realism in artwork. So, for example, if you see like a drawing of medieval people on a boat and the people are huge and the boat is very small, that's because the people are the important part of the picture. the boat is not. So the people are larger. And for a similar reason why baby Jesus in a lot of historical religious paintings is painted to look like a very small adult man, it's because Jesus is not intended to be depicted as a normal literal baby. He symbolically is something much bigger, something much more wise. So of course they depict him as a man. He is like spiritually a man or something greater than that. So that is the nutshell gist of why these images look the way they do. That said, there are some really funny things that happen purely on accident and have nothing to do with the art style of medieval art. They look like this for various reasons, partially because, well, for one thing, as many of you might guess, these artists may have never seen this animal before. And then another thing, it may have also been symbolism being attached to the animal itself. Like for instance, sometimes antelopes or deer will be illustrated with horns that look like a saw, or animals may be depicted with like multicolored coats. So with that said, let's get into it. I've made the sections here twins for ones that actually look very close to the actual animal. Almost there, which is they're close, but not quite on the mark. Concepts of a plan, which is kind of just the middle ground, like you can tell they've seen the animal before, maybe once. When I just don't know what to say about this, but it's also recognizably could be that animal. And then who the hell is that for an illustration of an animal that looks absolutely nothing like what this animal looks like. So for the parameters I've given myself, using only images from one bestiary, and also not just judging them based on how cool I think they look, we're judging them specifically based on how much they actually look like the animal they're supposed to be depicting. We're starting, I think, with a very classic one, which is the whale. Now, this is kind of a really popular one for when talking about medieval illustrations of animals. The whale, they like literally never get correct. And it's really hard to say why that is. I think they just thought it was a really, really big fish. It's really hard to say. So where shall we put the whale? Well, let's be honest, it is in fish form, so there's a point for it. I would say it's got concepts of a plan. So I'm going to put it under concepts of a plan because you can tell it is large and maybe whale-shaped, but also I wouldn't look at that and immediately think, oh, that's a whale. The next one is, oh my God, this one. Okay, so I'm going to cover up what it says this animal is, and I want you to take a wild guess what you think this animal is. Ignore the fact that it's eating its own balls. If you guessed beaver, you would be correct. This is supposed to be a beaver. I'm sorry, I have to put this under who the hell is that because like it's not giving beaver in any capacity. In the medieval period, it was believed that beaver testicles could be used for medicinal purposes. Okay, the next one we've got here, I've decided to go in order of the manuscript and not the order of the images that I have in the list website. I think this is very clearly an ape. It doesn't say what sort of ape, but it is definitely a ape. I think the fact that we can't tell what kind of ape it is does dock points. But at the same time, I don't know if that's fair, because pretty much none of these are very clear on what species it is. It's outside of like some birds. So I'm gonna put the ape under almost there. Okay, so what we have is the cock or the rooster. It's pretty spot on. Like, I really have nothing to say about this. That's just a rooster. So I'm gonna put her under twins. I also very much do love the fully gilded background that this one has. I don't know if that's because they really like the rooster or they just had to use up a bunch of their gold leaf. This crane illustration really tickles me. I just love that like all of them are pretty much sleeping and then there's this one fool over here who's like bothering the rest of them or doing a little dance. It really charms and delights me. How much like a crane does this look? I would say it's pretty close. It's hard to say what kind of crane this is, but it's pretty close. So I'm gonna say almost there. Okay, here's an honorable mention. Crickets drawn as birds singing to death. I love the medieval era so much. It's the best. Well, folks, right in the middle of the video here, my camera stopped recording. Awesome. And then when I tried re-recording half the video, my mic wasn't recording. So I have the audio from my first take. You're just gonna have to watch half the video not seeing my face. I know, such a tragedy. It's just, I can't re-record this a third time. My throat hurts so bad, and I'm just about to lose my voice. I can feel it. This video is a disaster. It was meant to be an easy one. I promise the next one will be back to normal. Pray for me. All right, back to the video. So here we have a dog. A dog being fed, I don't know, bread, an egg. Hard to say. That's definitely a dog. So I'm gonna say twins. I mean, I would honestly be so shocked if medieval scribes didn't know how to draw a dog. Dogs and cats and rats and varying birds were probably the most widely seen creatures of medieval France and England. Even with stylization, they're gonna get it mostly right. Okay, here we have a very sad looking eagle capturing a equally sad looking bird. Now, I wouldn't actually look at this and assume it's an eagle, although it does have like the slight plumage illustrations evoking an eagle around the neck. So it's not actually that far off. It's just also not exactly spot on. So I think for the eagle, I do have to say almost there. Now, here's one of my favorites that pops up in medieval illustration is the elephant. Mostly because in a lot of these manuscripts, the elephant is illustrated with like a trunk that looks like a tornado. I have absolutely no idea why. I don't think there's ever been an elephant that has a trunk that looks like that. Could be a symbolic illustration of like the idea of the elephant using its trunk to pick things up. But this one, as far as medieval illustrations of elephants go, is pretty tame. It's got a fairly normal looking trunk, and honestly, he's really cute and also kind of hairy looking, like a fuzzy late woolly mammoth or something. I love him. Wow. Perfect. 10 out of 10. But he also doesn't look exactly like an elephant generally, like it's giving dog elephant, so I'm gonna have to say concepts of a plan. Another really fun one. Almost no bestiary in medieval times knew how to like agree on what they thought the hedgehog should be illustrated like. So sometimes you have them like kind of bug looking. Sometimes they look more like a dog, which is fairly common. This one, he's got like little things stuck on his spines. Oh, it's fruit. He's got fruit stuck on his spines. Sorry, I've never seen a fruit that looks like a pinball. I mean, here's the thing though, this hedgehog looks more like a spiky pig. I wouldn't like instantly look at this thinking it's a hedgehog, so I'm gonna have to say, okay, a lion sleeping with its eyes open? I love that. This one actually looks fairly similar to a lot of medieval illustrations of lions. For some reason, when they draw them facing the front, their face gets very flat and wide, which is unlike most lions I've ever seen. And he has just this cartoonishly human face. Very much tickles me. I love him, I love him, I love him, but it doesn't look quite like a lion. A little spooky looking as well. I'm gonna have to put him in concepts of a plan. I also have another lion illustration here that I passed by. It's fairly similar, but I'm gonna put under almost there because it's a little closer than the one facing the front. An ostrich. You know, this is not the first ostrich illustration that I've seen with them carrying a horseshoe. There has to be some meaning behind that. But I don't know. It's definitely got the shape of an ostrich. It also isn't quite ostrich-esque enough, but it's almost there. I feel like there's concepts of a plan. I see the vision. Thank you. An owl. Now, I'm actually disappointed that the owl illustrated in this bestiary isn't quite as silly as the ones I've seen in other ones. Insert examples here, but it's still very funny. Like an owl being like reverse attacked on the ground by other birds. He still has a very good face. Like, owls consistently were illustrated with like very much man face, kind of similar to the lion, really silly. I can tell that's an owl. It just looks also like a freak. I'm gonna say almost there. Okay, I'm glad this bestiary has a panther in it. They never look like a panther. It's like they've never seen one in their life or even had one correctly described to them. Because, like, I know that there's not a whole lot of animals in here that had any, like, black plumage or black fur that were actually colored as such. And maybe if it was colored all black, it would be more obvious. Might be a stylistic thing, might be a matter of what pigments they were able to use, but this just super does not look like a panther. I can't tell that's a panther, so I have to put him, I'm gonna put him under, a peacock. All right. No notes. Twins. That's just a peacock. Yeah. Okay. Pelican. Like, that just looks like a bird. That's not a pelican. I don't know if maybe this is one of those situations where the name pelican was attributed to a different bird back in the medieval period, and today it's attributed to what we know as pelicans, or maybe they looked slightly different back then. I genuinely have no idea. And guess what? I'm not gonna look it up. I'm just going to assume it's the same bird, and this doesn't look like a fucking pelican. So, a rat? And I can't even blame the trap for blocking half of this animal and making it hard to see what it is. That's not a rat. That is a small, I don't know, cat? Who the hell is that? And they see so many rats in the medieval period. They know how to draw those guys. Okay, salamander. This is another one that gets drawn very strange in medieval illustrations, and it's in all likelihood supposed to be a symbolic thing. I will correct myself if I'm wrong on this, but I think salamanders were another one of those animals that was associated with the devil. So in that case, illustrating them looking like a demon like this makes a lot of sense. However, by our parameters today, who the hell is that? Oh, a sawfish? I'm actually surprised this illustration doesn't have the sawfish flying through the air. They were often illustrated flying. I mean, I guess. I actually need to remind myself what a sawfish looks like. Okay, that's not, that's, no. What? Is this a case where it's being called that, but it was a different animal? Maybe. Because I know there's an animal that there's like a fish that kind of looks like this, but no. We have a stag. Not bad. I've actually seen worse. I've seen, like I said before, the ones where the antlers are drawn like a literal saw. This one's fine. I would say twins. A swan. Now, if swans were really this large in the medieval period, I think they would have so much to be afraid of. Those things are assholes. I love them. I love swans, but they're assholes. I've been attacked by swans twice. I still love them. That said, does this look very much like a swan? I don't know, because it's standing up on very tall legs. I would be like, oh, is this another ostrich? So I'm gonna say, a tiger. Do I even need to say anything? Who the fuck is that? Who the fuck is that? That's not a tiger. You can't even use like pigments as an excuse here. They had orange, clearly, like for all the fire. They had black, come on. Okay, and last but not least, I must have skipped him earlier. The ass, classic. We love a donkey. I'm a big fan of donkeys. I think they deserve more respect. Not less love to horses, also love horses, but horses and donkeys need to be more on equal footing. Donkeys don't get the respect they deserve. That said, not a bad illustration of a donkey here. They got the ears. He's cute. Much longer tail than I think most asses have, but pretty good. So I'm gonna put them under twins actually, because I would know right away this is a donkey. Well, there you have it. That is our final tier list. I hope you enjoyed this just fun, silly, stupid video. I will be back later this month with my Pride Month video, or I could be lying. Don't kill me. Anyway, and don't forget to head to the link in the description below or scan this QR code to sign up for a 14-day free trial at MyHeritage and get started discovering your family history. Also, don't forget to grab a copy of my graphic novel, Liberated: The Radical Life and Art of Claude Cahun. So until next time, wash thy hands, wear thy mask, and don't forget to tip your scribes.